Welcome to On the Bench. I am your host for this episode, Brendan Sonnone. I'm joined by Zach Blostein, Chris Nee. Uh, we're here. It's a pivotal week, guys. Like I dropped that already. Pivotal week as FSU plays Pitt, and a chance to remain ranked, but to really kind of turn the temperature down a little bit after two losses in a row, including what was for most of the game a pretty uncompetitive contest against rival Miami. Now FSU fans are kind of living the Miami fan base doing their victory lap, and you're just kind of feeling all of that. And yeah, a win is much needed. We're going to get into what FSU has to do to beat Pitt. A little bit of a breakdown about things that Pitt does well. It's a capable opponent. Some intrigue with the freshman quarterback they're bringing in and who played well last week. So there's a lot to get to there. Zach also has some really cool recruiting stuff I want us to talk about and kind of sift through. But first, a shout out to our sponsors. Zach, why don't you show them what you got?
I have acquired some Chattanooga whiskey bottled in bond. I asked Brendan yesterday if I had never seen this in stock at my local Total Wine here in Orlando, and I asked him what he thought of it. And he gave it glowing reviews, as he has on this podcast many times. So got my hands on it, tried it out. Really good stuff. This might be one of my favorite things that I've tried from Chat Whiskey.
They do a really good job with the bottom and bond. I've talked to multiple people, like whiskey nerds, who think that's the best thing they do. It's definitely in the conversation for me too. They do a really nice job with it. Comes out twice a year. Zach got his at a Total Wine, but you can find it throughout the state of Florida. Local shops are probably going to have some of those, but you can find it in the big box ones as well. Thank you, Chattanooga Whiskey, for supporting us. And then also,
the Turner Group.
Colin counted 42 I'm sorry's on the past one, and I think he enjoys that to an extent, but 42 might have been an extreme for
that's
me.
That's a lot of pressure.
Yeah, that's a lot. We're going to lower it down a little bit. I'm going to try to be a little cleaner with this. Hey, in spite of all my snafus and sorries, they had a meeting with one of our listeners, Cheyenne, and her husband, I believe. So thank you for giving the Turner Group a chance. There's been multiple people who've reached out in the last few months. And yeah, I know it's not an easy decision to make, to jump into. So we do appreciate the people who have tried. Zach gives us like firsthand credibility that it's a good process, an easy process, a profitable process. Yeah, and there's been another Zach who has used Colin Turner to finish things off with their home buying process as well. Sorry, Colin. Anyways, the Turner Group is who we said you go to. Darn, I almost had it without any sorries. You want to start? You know where I want to start, guys? Wow, what a black eye that was for me. I did think it would be really funny if we all came in here with makeup. I mean, I knew Chris would never do it, so it was not even
I mean, if nobody else did, maybe I'd do it, but I'm definitely not joining in and doing it as a group. I don't do those things.
Are you a contrarian, Chris?
Probably, yes.
Oh, wow! I was about to say, if he said no, that's what a contrarian would say, but he admitted. All right, I respect self-awareness. Yeah, the Mike Norvell black eye thing was, I was going to say funny, assuming that we know why it was, and I don't want to say because it wasn't on record, but I would have asked him about it. I didn't notice it during the press conference, partially because of where we sit. Where I sit is probably the worst vantage point to see
it. We're heavy left eye sitters, and
yeah.
It was right eye, black eye.
Yeah, now there was opportunity. Like in hindsight, we probably should have seen it, but it would have been like a thing. But like, oh man,
I just thought our dude was looking tired. I mean, it's been a rough 2 weeks.
No, I think in hindsight we probably should have seen it, but I would have definitely asked. Probably not on record, but afterwards. I think any human being, you see him with a black eye, you have to ask, right? Like that's person 101. Yo, how'd you get that?
That guy he was talking about wanting to punch somebody on Monday. Maybe
we saw him through the door going, yeah, maybe he's starting to get into it with somebody to take out his angst and the angst return. He does have the worst luck with this type of stuff. Like the fire alarm last year after the Memphis game going, and then after you lose to Miami, of course you have a literal black eye. Like just poor Mike sometimes, man. All right. Pitt, let's talk about them. It's a capable team. I should have had this all printed out and ready to go. 3-2, I think, on the season. Does that sound right, Chris?
Yeah, they lost to West Virginia in the backyard brawl. They lost to Louisville in a pretty turnover-heavy game, not a very well-played game. They're coming off of beating the hell out of Boston College at home.
Boston College might be terrible, but both those
No,
losses
might be.
oh,
They're awful.
yeah, they are.
Them versus Stanford. Woo.
Yeah. Bill O'Brien, what a great guy too. Feel awful for him. He's not awful. He's not great. He's kind of condescending. I don't care for him. The cut of his jib. Whatever. Sorry, Colin. Pitt, 2 losses by 1 score each, kind of Florida State-ish there. Different caliber of opponent, I would say, and who you've lost to. As Virginia, how about Virginia going to Louisville and winning? Look at those guys. Was it overtime? It was
Yeah,
overtime.
it was an OT.
The cardiac calves. But yeah, so Pittsburgh's capable, I think. And maybe the starting point should be their offense has not been very good this year, but they made a change at quarterback and brought in a true freshman, and that seems to spark things. Let's start there, Chris.
They went with Mason Heischel, who is a freshman, as you referenced. He replaced Eli Holstein. Holstein hadn't been bad, 1,100 yards, 11 touchdowns in basically 4 games, but he had thrown 5 picks. And I think it was more so their inability to be consistent as an offense. They weren't very good on third down with him, and there were some other ailments going on. Mason comes in, has a really good game, 30 of 41, 323, 4 touchdowns against BC. Watched that entire BC game here on, I think it was Monday. He made a few real high-level throws. Truthfully, there was one that came off the board because of penalty that I thought was probably his best vertical push. He had another one where he rolled right, threw it towards pylon. Wasn't caught, but an excellent high-level throw. He also hit a touchdown where he threw a window throw. Now, BC didn't have it well covered, but it's one of those throws where if it was more well covered, it would still be a high-level throw. I didn't come away thinking he's Kenny Pickett, Miami, a few years ago when Kenny was a freshman and did what he did. But I did come away thinking he's very capable. Now, offensively, their O-line, kind of a mixed bag. They've had some injuries up there. They got banged up further against BC up there. I don't think that group is exceptional by any stretch. Their running game has been kind of literally banged up because of the inability to run it without Desmond Reed being available. Now, Reed may be back for this game. He dressed for last game and pregame and kind of tried to make a go of it, but did not play without him. Sorry, they've been relying on Jules Goff. They have a couple other pieces in that room that they lean on. I do like
the other kid they use better than Goff. I can't remember.
Yeah, it's what, Ja'Kurian Turner, is it?
Turner, it is Turner. The Turner group, it is Turner. And he's from Wildwood, which is very rural Central Florida.
Yeah, I like their pass catching group. They have 3 receivers. They kind of lean on Raphael Williams Jr., Kenny Johnson, and Blue Hicks. Deuce Spann is their 4th guy, former FSC Seminoles. That group's been good. You know, they kind of go as the quarterback goes. Defense, love Kyle Lewis.
Hang on, let's not get ahead. Hang on. Let's talk about the offense. Getting ahead of ourselves there. All right. So first off, Byron Sonnone.
Brought to you by the Turner Group.
Mason hits. What's the last name?
I think it's Heidenschel.
Heidenschel's throwing motion.
Yeah, so in that BC game, he changed arm slot a little bit at times. Traditional version of him throwing it feels like there's a little bit of a hitch there.
Like a little sidearm kind of weird action. It's strange, but it works for him.
Yeah,
he's accurate.
He was smart. He was quick. He did a good job of moving his feet enough to extend some plays, and then he took some yards when they were there for the taking as far as running the ball. He's not a fleet of foot, high level athlete by any stretch, but like he'll take a first down if you're going to give him a first down with a big gap and no coverage in the area. But yeah, throwing it wise, a lot of work to the middle of the field, a lot of willingness to check down, a lot of pit motion where he would hit the motion man if the defender didn't stay with him off the snap, that kind of stuff. I thought he threw it, 40 times roughly is what he threw against BC. I felt like 30 to 34 of those were relatively controlled throws to different levels. And then there was a handful of like, you got to go make this throw. And for the most part, I thought he did a good job in that regard.
Mike Norvell did say they kind of have to force the issue with him, and I agree. He's a true freshman quarterback, first road game. I know that sounds pretty cliche, but there's truth to it. Like, he was not good on 3rd and longs. As good as his
and they haven't been this year as a team.
In general, they're bad, and I think they were 0 for 5 on 3rd and longs, though he scrambled for close to a first down in goal-to-go situation, or maybe it was to get to goal-to-go. Point being, though, that he's, you can – I don't think he's going to sit back and just beat you with his arm consistently. Now, you dared Miami to do that last week, but it's a little different. The version of the quarterbacks and the experience and the talent level they have getting the ball to. Although, Zach, you like one of the Pitt's wide receivers quite a bit.
Yeah, Katarius Hicks. He's
blue.
Yeah. I really like his game. Like he's done some good stuff early this season. He had a highlight reel catch, I think, against Louisville, and where he transferred into Pitt from. So yeah, so they've got some playmakers. I'm really interested to see if Desmond Reed returns for them this week. It sounds like Pitt, people around that program are not expecting him to return this week. He did warm up pregame for their game against BC, but they're kind of expecting him to miss more time. So we'll
Whereas
see.
Mike Norvell is saying they're expecting him to play, right?
Well, it feels like FSU always faces a guy who somehow magically heals. So yeah.
Yeah, but they've also had luck before where they face a bunch of like backup quarterbacks and stuff.
One thing on Pitt's passing game, it is RPO heavy and a lot of stuff out to the perimeter, a lot of bubble screens. I think 3 other wide receivers have 99 yards after the catch or more. We're not quite midway through the season, so a lot of short throws to kind of move them up the field that way. But to Chris's point, the offensive line's not very good. Okay in pass pro, poor run blocking.
Yeah, and I think Reed's a different maker in that regard more than anything.
Yeah, you have an electric player that you're missing. Again, I like their true freshman, but that's a little different than a guy who has a pretty good, versatile skill set who's experienced already. So that's Pitt's offense. I think it's a get right game for Florida State's defense. You have to get pressure. Like this is it's one, the matchup. 2, it's just like it's got to happen. Right now, I'm writing a story on this later today. FSU sack rate is the only thing that's above average nationally. That's 59th nationally at 7%. Everything else, pressure rate, time to pressure, time to throw is 89th to 124th nationally out of 136 teams. And that all got better against Miami. I thought some of their pass rush packages were actually pretty good. They just didn't get Miami in 3rd and long very often, but they showed some cool stuff like Nicholson blitzing, which was good to see. I thought Amari Williams showed some decent stuff. The Desir brothers, the Williams brothers, like you had some decent pass rush stuff that you showed there. You guys like that. It has to get better. Like you're Florida State. You invest a lot along your defensive line, so you have to get to the quarterback.
You're averaging 2.2 sacks per game. I think it's 6.2 tackles for loss per game. 2 sacks per game against your 3 capable opponents, but you had 3 against Bama, so you've only had 3 against the other 2. Your leading sack getter is Ashlyn Barker.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. So of FSU's 11 sacks this season, 5.5 are from the defensive line. I think their ratio nationally would probably be, and I get part of it is the 3-3 front that they often run.
Places. But the issue is it doesn't come enough from the front consistently.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I just
we all defeatedly said yeah.
I don't know what to think about this D-line group, man. Like I do like that they have made personnel changes to which guys are seeing the field more. Like we saw Daryl this year get the start against Miami. I like that. Hope that continues.
They brought James Williams off the bench for pass rush package solely. Tony White talked about that.
What I think about the D-line is that 2 of the probably 4 main pieces of it have been horrendous, which is Jason Jenkins coming off of injury, and Jason. No,
those are probably like, and
I'm sorry, James Williams.
As far as like a roster, we're talking about roster building and just how this year's roster was built. I mean, how much money is being spent on those 2 players?
But it was a necessity for them to be good. Like, there's not a good plan B to James Williams in the sense of what he brings.
Oh yeah, no, I mean,
Diamante Diggs was. I know, but we're not talking about our opinions, right? I don't think anyone in this thought what.
I might be talking about my opinion on Tay Diggs.
I understand what I'm saying.
Because we're talking about how the roster was
built.
Is
he gaslighting me right now, Zach?
Yes.
I probably am, yeah.
I got it right. There's a running side thing where I don't know, Chris, what gaslight means. I always use it incorrectly. Brett's in our fantasy or whatever. What's our league called? Dynasty?
Dynasty.
It was waiting on Dynasty for a while because shockingly, Dane will keep us waiting sometimes. The fantasy league would be my Transformers smut league that I'm in. Jazz lives. I'm just saying, guys. Where was I? 3, 2,
You were talking
1.
about Tay Diggs, and I was trying to,
Yeah, you
see
were
what I do.
gaslighting me with Tay Diggs. No one here, like, even when I thought the ranking that we had for Tay Diggs as a company didn't ever make sense to me. I thought there was some, like, avenue to where he could be useful in a certain situation, but then in the summertime, we're starting to hear, like, yeah, that's probably our pass rush will go as he goes. I did not love that. That didn't make sense. I think we're all on record of thinking they should have really made a push aggressively for a spring defensive end transfer. And so to the point being like this, the roster construction, James Williams giving you nothing from a pass rush production other than the first game against Alabama with the pressures. Like that's disappointing. That's surprising. I fear that he got in no man's land with trying to bulk up to become a run defender. Didn't do that well enough, and now he doesn't have the quickness to be a capable. Like he kind of just got caught, and that'll probably take time to refocus. Unfortunately, and then Jason Jenkins, you was probably a top 5, if not more, acquisition for you financially. With what you had to pay there for getting a capable defensive end from the SEC, and you're going against UNC when they're throwing money at their problem. How crazy is that, by the way?
FSU saved that man from UNC. Think about that for a second.
And then he gets hurt, and like part of I can't feel like I can fully judge Jason Jenkins, the fact that he probably shouldn't have even been playing until
Right. I'm not trying to knock the young man for coming off injury. I'm just saying you're not getting any production from him, and he was supposed to be a huge piece of what you're doing.
Yeah.
KJ Sampson, you thought would be a decent interior pass rusher.
You didn't even play him against Miami. You don't believe in him. You don't trust him.
Yeah, he
doesn't do it well enough when he's given opportunities.
Yeah. I mean, he's like that was only because Kevin Wynn got injured. Was the
him playing right? But you thought like he'd at least be like
serviceable. I mean,
10 snap guy.
Yeah, he did not look good against the lower level opponents either.
Too often going backwards, too often going down instead of making any push or going forward.
Yeah.
So we're saying all this is like the pass rush just has to. You have to figure it out. And I do think that Tony White took it into his own hands a little bit more against Miami. I thought you actually saw some decent results, just the game flow to where it didn't really matter. Like it wasn't, you weren't able to truly see it. But I did think there were some cool pass rush things there that give me some level of optimism going forward. But that's going to be big because you have a true freshman quarterback. He's not very good in third and longs. We're in transition here talking about Pitt's defense, but your defense, your own defense, Florida State's defense is going to have to carry you for stretches of this game because I think Pitt is going to force some 3 and outs. I think you're going to be able to score on them, but there's going to be havoc plays they create and drive enders too with how they play. So you're going to have to play complementary football. Let's talk about Pitt's defense because it's a top 15-ish unit nationally, and they play like a Pat Narduzzi defense. To me, Chris, starts with I was going to say the defensive front, but the front 7. Their linebackers have to be included in that too. I know you're smitten with the linebackers just based on how you talked about them this week.
Yeah, I love it's a pair of juniors. One's a red shirt. Rasheem Biles and Kyle Lewis. Lewis was an All-American last year. Biles is putting together a season this year that's going to put him in contention for that. Lewis is a star type of linebacker for him. He just cleans so much up for them. Also does a good job playing in the pass game. He's just always around the ball, and Biles is literally the guy that always seems to be making the tackle. As far as up front, Blaine Spires is one guy that I really like. I think you guys are also high on him. He's been.
We don't know if he'll play though.
Right, he's been a little banged up. Junior edge Jimmy Scott and fellow linebacker Braylon Lovelace are 2 other guys that kind of, when I was watching stuff on them, stood out to me. They got a guy at each level that I like. So like Cruz Brookins, who's been a little banged up himself. He's a safety for them. He's another guy that does a good job kind of flying around the field. The biggest thing about Pitt, and it's standard Narduzzi type of defense, they're going to be super aggressive downhill, but they trigger fast, they fill holes, and they finish plays. And while they do gamble in the sense of throwing numbers, they're going to throw 4, 5, 6 at you with decent regularity. For whatever reason, they're relatively good at not allowing explosives, both in the run game and in the pass game. Now, you are going to get opportunities in the pass game one-on-one, and you can hit those, and you can hit those big. But it's a matter of having enough time to allow that to develop to hit it, which is what Narduzzi's trade-off is basically when he gives out one-on-one because he's bringing an extra body towards your quarterback.
They blitz as much as I think they're in the top 10 nationally or close to it. They blitz as much as anyone.
3.2 sacks per game is 8th in the nation. 9.4 tackles for loss per game is 3rd in the nation. Both of those are tops in the ACC. They've had at least 2 sacks in every single game this season. They have 47 tackles for loss. only for 84 yards, which was kind of surprising. But like they get after it. They're ultra aggressive downhill. I really, really enjoy watching a Narduzzi coach defense. If they had a good secondary, it could be an elite defense. They're great against the run. They've had multiple opponents rush for 1.2 yards or less per game this year. I think it's 3 of their 6 have done, or 3 of their five.
Five.
We're the 6th. So yeah, I like the defense isn't all world because that secondary is not anything to write home about, but they are very capable of creating turnovers. They're very capable of creating negatives. They're very capable of making you very uncomfortable. And the O-line is going to have to come to play. And it's also going to be a game where it's probably very important for running backs and or tight ends or H-backs, any of those sorts of individuals, to do a good job in blitz pickup.
Big Roydell Williams game. I think this is, in all seriousness, a big game for Tommy. Because of Pitt's style, because of what he's coming off of. I don't think he was as bad as some people have made it out to seem. I also don't think he was good for large portions of the game. I think he tried to do way too much. And I think some of his comments afterwards, seeing how emotional he was, I think that speaks to someone who, and going back to the pesky Pete Nakos interview from the summertime of him like trying to save jobs, like I think he's carrying a lot of a weight that's unnecessary for him. And Mike talked about that a little bit on Monday when I asked him if like we just need Tommy to be Tommy, and like there's like yes, like this offense is going to provide big play opportunities for him pretty consistently, and he doesn't have to necessarily try to force it. The way Pitt is going to play, they're going to blitz a lot. They're going to send pressure at him. There's going to be one-on-ones outside. Is he able to make quick decisions? Is he going to be able to get rid of the ball within rhythm? Is it going to be fairly accurate most of the time? We can all live with it not always being accurate. We know that's going to be up and down. But protecting the ball after the last couple of weeks and just being in rhythm and giving your wide receivers a chance, like that's going to be big. They're going to leave the seams open a good chunk of the time. There's going to be one-on-ones for Deuce Robinson out wide against two corners. Pitt's better corner is like 6 foot, so you're going to have a size advantage there. Their lesser corner is 6'1", so there's going to be interesting to see what kind of matchups you play there. I don't know. I think this is a prove-it game for Tommy, and really as we look at like the big picture for Florida State, this is kind of a blueprint game for Mike. I mean, you can't lose 3 in a row to start off conference play again. You can't, and so like this is a big game. There's a lot of pressure I think on this team. There's going to be times where game pressure can get to you. How do you handle it? Because it is a capable team. It's a decent bowl caliber team. You needn't play with your food and not take advantage of playing at home, and like you should win this game.
Yeah, it can't be a sleepy noon start. Like you got to come out and you got to play well early. They did score in the first drive against Miami, but in general, in the last 2 games, they haven't been very good out of gate overall.
No, they've been really bad in the first. Well, I was say first quarter of games. They've been slow the last 2 games. Go ahead.
They went 1 for 8 on their first 8 drives against Miami, so that's pretty slow start.
And they were 0 for 2 against Virginia with costly turnovers, and that has to get better. Go ahead, Zach. Sorry.
Yeah, I was just gonna say like about Tommy. I mean, this is kind of what I expected from him with the like just putting too much on his shoulders. Like I think he just needs to realize that he doesn't have to be the guy that has to make the play every time. I understand he's the quarterback and he's playing the most important position, and there's a lot of pressure on him now to go and win a football game. But I mean, they have other playmakers, especially against an opponent like Pitt. Like I understood, like when some of the stuff that was working in all your previous games, like the Mekhi Danzy, reverse play or whatever you want to, whatever offensive production they had in those first 4 games that wasn't able to work against Miami. I think that's partly because Miami just has better athletes, but you're now entering ACC play where you should have better athletes than most of the opponents you're playing. So to me, it's just I don't know how, like I don't know if this is a conversation that Norvell has to have with Tommy or Malzahn, but it has to happen because I thought Tommy in the first few games was playing well within the offense, especially against Alabama. It did not feel like he was playing hero ball at all.
Stayed ahead of the chains, played forward.
Yeah. And there's other factors here, right? Like Micah Pettis being out at right tackle is a big deal for their running game success, and just overall offensive success, because you're sliding Adrian Medley or whoever to right tackle. It's just not a natural fit. But Tommy needs to play within the offense, because I saw too many times in the Miami game there was stuff open that Malzahn schemed open that Tommy just wasn't throwing, because he was trying to make the big play instead of taking a smaller play that could have still had a very positive result. And that's not to say that I think like on Tommy's interceptions, like he was making good decisions as far as like where he was throwing the ball, but I think there were other factors like him getting hit on that one, and then the other one was just he threw it too late. But yeah, I mean, to me, that's the most important thing with him. And I expected some of this, like I talked about before the season. I just think that he's such a high emotion guy that you kind of saw it after the Miami game, like him coming down to earth a little bit. And I just hope that they're able to rein him in. The coaching staff is able to rein him in to the point where he's, because if he plays in the offense, I mean, they can go and do almost anything they want offensively. They've shown that against solid competition. You got to play. The entire offensive unit has to play better, obviously. They have to have early down success, because that's so key to Tommy's game. If you're allowing Pitt to force negatives on first and second down, like it's going to be a long day. Like I think it's going to be similar to the Miami game.
I do wonder if the end of the Miami game, not that this might be a little wish casting, if the end of that Miami game was good for Tommy, in that he kind of rode through the worst of it, the emotions, and it was able to settle in, and it didn't ultimately like, okay, like you could have gotten, if you got an onside kick and a Hail Mary, like you had a shot, but like it wasn't, we all lived it. We were there. Like we know how uncompetitive it felt for a majority of the game. But the fact that he was able to return to earth a little bit, I just have this feeling that with the success of the first 3 games of the season, the Alabama game specifically, and then just the numbers he was able to put up in the other ones, I think you kind of elevate to a place where, when you're a running quarterback and you've been told you're a running quarterback your entire career and you start having success as a passer, I think, and we had to see this with Jordan some too, there becomes these moments, these breaking points where you have to kind of push yourself, or you feel like you have to push yourself as a passer even more to see what you can do to almost make up for lost time, to prove something. And I do feel like there was an element of that, somewhat against Virginia at times, with just some of the maturity of his decision making, and then against Miami too, in terms of just not feeling comfortable. Listen, some of that might be probably is what Miami did to you from a pressure standpoint too. Like I get that, but the emotions that he wore with that, I think was an aspect. So that, like, now does he learn from it? Did he learn from it? Is there this recalibration, this reining in of the emotions? Like, Mike Norvell is an emotional coach. He recruits players to be emotional players. There are pros, there are cons to that. It is a constant like battle for equilibrium and trying to figure that out. That's why I think Saturday against Pitt ends up becoming a pretty big like data point for us, and the Tommy Castellanos experiment, and really, I mean, it's the Mike Norvell era as well, because let's be honest, guys, like 0-3 in ACC play to start the season with the resources you've allocated to the program, to come off of what last season was and try to right the ship. Like, that's not going to be acceptable. Should we talk about that? Like, what happens if 0-3 occurs? Like, I do think that's
Pitchfork season happens. Pitchfork season's kind of already getting on the way, but yeah, 3 in a row, 0-3 in the league. Yeah, it's pitchfork season. Let's not beat around the bush. His ACC record, I don't know it off the top of my head, but it would be effing dreadful.
Yeah, I don't like people bringing up just as
I know because last year tilts that number, but it is still.
But it happened. It happened. I don't like people talking about it in a row. You know what I mean? Like,
I'm with you on that. Each season's its own thing, but 3-3, 0-3 would be. It's terrible.
0-3 is not excuse. And then you take what last year was, and you lost every single ACC game. Oh, Cal happened. I forget that Cal was in the conference.
God bless you, Wilcox.
The year before, obviously, you were fine. The year before, Mike Norvell, if you take out the COVID year, which I think is fair to do in the experiment of what a year one COVID year that sucked. More bad luck for Mike Norvell being the first head coach to get COVID and miss a game too. Like, of course. But even if you take that out and you just include what it's been since then, I think it's a game below 500 or a game above.
I think that's right. I think it's a game below.
Like the. And the Miami game
nobody wants to hear like niceties about it. If you're 0-3 in the league, like it's done. Like you're just playing out the string.
Well, then what's the string? I think then that becomes the
when it becomes financially feasible to move on and change.
When is that? Because
I don't know. I don't make financial decisions for FSU, which is probably good. I'm not great at finances. I try to be, but I'm not great at it.
Really?
Yeah.
I would assume you're good at it. That's kind of where we're at, and it feels
people are
hyperbolic, but it is where we're at with it. It's year 6. You're coming off of the season you reset expectations with how you played against Alabama, and then if it comes crashing down, like you start wondering, okay, are you going to have to do this again? Where you have to replenish the entire roster again? Like, I hate that it's like we're talking about one game meaning so much, but that's college football now. Like that is. Kalen DeBoer was on the verge of pitchfork season, and then they were hosting game day the next week, and now they're in the top 10. Like it's just the Razors' edge. It's kind of the thing about like Razors, right? Like everyone thinks about these stupid like Mach 3 things now, but what the original Razor was like this really thin blade, and it's so thin like it can cut you, but it can also snap in half too. And I feel like that's kind of the Razor's edge that you're living with right now. It's like it could cut you, it could snap in half. It's very, very delicate. All right. Well, let's hope they don't lose to Pitt because I think that would be really early in the season and probably really early in the financial vetting process for Florida State. I can't think of the right word for this to happen. It would just feasibility process to happen. What are your guys' predictions for the game?
I think FSU actually wins and covers, but they're so unreliable, for lack of a better term, that I'm not convinced they do that. I mean, they have to generate a pass rush of some sort. They got to make that kid uncomfortable, Mason. But I think there's such a hyper focus on it within the program this week that we see some results with it.
I've got FSU winning 34-24.
So is that a cover? It's opened at 10. It's bounced to
10.5.
10.5. What is it now?
I think
10.5. So I'm picking Pitt to cover barely.
I have FSU. I think FSU wins kind of handily. I just don't think Pitt's offense is very good, and I know their defense is good, but I think you can manufacture some points. You manufacture points against Miami, and that's a better defense, I think, from a talent perspective. So, Florida State 32, Pitt 21. So FSU covers 32-21 Florida State.
How do you get to 32?
I don't know. It's not my problem. They figure it out.
3 touchdowns, 3 field goals, and a safety.
Perfect. I love it. Yeah, you get it. Daryl Jackson rips through someone, picks up the quarterback, slams in the ground, goes, "I'm still good," and that's how I get the score exactly. By the way, how about Tony White just coming out and saying, "Hey, Daryl Jackson, pretty dominant."
What's those pass rush numbers again? No, I'm joking. Daryl's done his job effectively. It would be nice if the cast around him would play up to a certain level too.
I agree.
He is allowed to go make great plays though.
He is. He needs to become dominant. Like it's in there and needs to take the next step in all facets of it.
But there's nuance to it. Like people are saying, oh, because he's not making dominant, flashy.
Oh, trust me, me and Brendan have yelled at each other in that room 2 to 3 times this season about this very topic.
But he's good.
He is good. I'm not.
That's the whole thing I get shit for is that people say he's not good and he's good.
All I'm saying is you're completely allowed to go be like just an absolute animal who makes individial plays, and the rare opportunity where you get a one-on-one or a winnable situation that you're allowed to go. No, I think that's the nuance that there's a segment that thinks he's really good and a segment who thinks he's not worth it, and whatever. It's the middle that I land in where he is very good. He's doing his job at a high level. He's certainly putting his teammates in position to do stuff, but he is also allowed to far exceed that and go make the individual plays at a more higher rate. And I think Daryl even understands that. He talked about yesterday when he gets a rare one-on-one, he has to be a dominant being in those situations. Anyways.
Let's talk about BJ Gibson leaving the program. Free BJ, hardly knew ye. He leaves, I should specify, he leaves the Florida State football program to focus solely on Florida State baseball, which I think while last year, towards the end of the season, I thought he was your best true freshman wide receiver in terms of just how he played in practice. And he ended up working his way onto the field more. Didn't do a ton with it, though. But his physical upside and skill set is far more for baseball. He's not like a freaky football athlete. He's more of a coordination-based guy. And had some really nice, Chris, opportunities last year that he kind of came down to earth a little bit, but helped them navigate the early parts of the season as a true freshman, given a guy who hasn't exclusively focused on baseball. It was impressive.
Yeah, he was a high-level baseball player in high school, once a Tennessee baseball commitment before he decided to do the two-sport thing. I think it's the right decision for the young man. I think you can try to split time and do both, and you're not going to be exceptional at either. I think if you focus solely on one, you can be. And truthfully, I think baseball is probably BJ's calling more so than football. There's also an element of LaWayne McCoy's become the guy among his group, same age group of receivers, who's kind of emerged and become the guy. It's not like the passing attack is spreading the ball at a high rate to wide receivers. And also, you're not getting on the field as a punt returner, despite FSU's punt return woes for the most part. So, you don't really have a role carved out. Baseball's in the middle of fall ball. He can go do the back half of fall ball, truly focus on that, put himself in position to be something for them in the spring. I think it's an intelligent, immature decision on his part. Timing's a little weird, obviously, because you're 5-6 weeks into a football season. But at the same time, again, fall ball for baseball is kind of at a midway point. I think that's what he realized.
I think we need to take a quick look at FSU's that 2024 class. The offensive class was considered to be potentially program changing with the star power you're bringing in, and so much of it regionalized. It was a cool story. But now that you're a year and a half removed, which isn't that long a period of time, although college football is sped up, just going down the composite 4-star guys in that class on offense. Luke Kromenhoek, gone. Cam Davis has been jumped. Landon Thomas has taken a big step back. Fair?
Yeah, I asked Chris Thompson about that on Tuesday. He said that him missing the end of the summer and portions of preseasons put him behind in Gus Muz on offense.
Unfortunately, he's missed parts of 2 preseason camps, I think, in 2 years. So that's the thing at this point. Elijah Moore just has not lived up to his physical potential early on. He's had some maturity things. Has to get better. LaWayne McCoy, Chris mentioned, has been a bright spot. Jonathan Daniels, offensive tackle. I asked Mike Norvell about him yesterday. He said he's still kind of developing. It's year 2 for him.
They're playing a guard at tackle.
It doesn't seem overly promising. Amari Williams was a tight end last year. He's an athlete, an edge for them now. He moves over there. Mekhi Danzy, obviously, you found value with him. And then Manasseh ATT and BJ Gibson. Manasseh is a scout team guy at this point. I thought that seems really far off, so probably unlikely this vantage point. And then BJ Gibson. So what? You've hit on Danzy,
Williams,
and then LaWayne McCoy that you feel comfortable saying those have been hits?
Yeah.
Got him.
And Danzy's the one that I feel like has the highest potential for true, NFL star power kind of thing. But I think, if Amari Williams turns into like a quality pass rusher, he could be that too.
Yeah, but that's just talking about like then the defensive side of the ball. It'll be interesting this week because Charles Lester and Kai Bates are your backup cornerbacks. I do think real quick, Shamar Arnaud being a safety on the depth chart when Quindarius Jones, we haven't talked about this, is out for the season. I think it's super interesting to me. It's like, does it speak more to what they think about what Charles and Kai or Ricky Knight can be? Jamari Howard's not really in that conversation for what it's worth. I know people will ask. Or does it speak more to what you think about Edwin Joseph?
I think it speaks to Edwin playing horribly against Miami.
I do too. And so that's not ideal. It's like this Shamar should be jumping into your rotational cornerback spot. Like legitimately against Miami, your two starting cornerbacks played every single defensive snap. And it's a position where you don't have to rotate a ton. But yeah, you don't feel very good about one of your safety spots right now. That's a toughie because Edwin was considered for them. I mean, that's one of the few wins they've had over Miami the last few years, and a guy that they thought would be pretty good. And it seems like he's struggled in that transition for them to be moving Shamar over to get more and more snaps. But yeah, that 2024 class just has not been very good to date. And I know it's early on; guys are allowed to get better. But you have to hit at a higher rate than what you've hit at.
Yeah,
right. I'm not.
I agree.
Big elaboration on it and beat that horse, but
I've come to the conclusion outside the one transfer class where FSU added a great deal of talent to a very good team already, and then went and did what they did, like recruiting. That's sort of the story of recruiting pretty consistently here in the last 5+ years.
That's kind of sobering, not fun. All right, speaking of recruiting, Zach, because it still matters, let's talk about some of the scoop you got. I want to talk about, and you put this at Knowles 24/7 earlier this week, I think some of the quarterback development is interesting because Jaden O'Neal just, frankly, is someone we haven't heard of this year, really since he committed. He's not
been banged up a little bit, but go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah, from a playing perspective, yeah, but even just presence online, being a part of this class, like it feels like that was just kind of both parties had to find a landing spot. Got it done, and they're now. I think we're just buying time. Like if Jaden O'Neal stays in this class, I would be surprised.
I'm in the same camp as of now. There were a lot. We outlined the red flags that were there when FSU took him. As far as just, I don't think it's as much to do with Jaden, but I think it's more to do with like his camp in general. I've heard that essentially the holdup right now is, FSU, is like for any recruit, like they're, getting NIL, opportunities. And I think there's like, I don't think those two sides have come to terms on, agreeing to a number.
That's a toughie to be committed for how many months and to not have right. That's not.
Yeah. And I, I'm not sure that O'Neal has like really much leverage in the situation. I don't think FSU, to their credit, is trying to, overspend for a high school quarterback that, that kind of defaulted to them in a sense. Like, yes, he did decommit from Oklahoma, but that was because Oklahoma was going after, another quarterback, and I think Bo Bentley, right, is committed there.
Yeah.
So yeah, FSU, because they haven't really come to terms there, I think that they are exploring some other options, or I know that they're exploring some other options. That includes Jaron Hewley. He's a 3-star quarterback out of South Florida that FSU offered years ago. Mike Norvell offered him at a camp down in South Florida. He's committed to West Virginia now. He's much more of a fit for a Gus Malzahn scheme, much more of an athlete at the quarterback position than O'Neal. We've just seen like what the Malzahn offense can look like with a true athlete at quarterback, and I just think that makes a lot more sense for them. But they're keeping him warm as of now. I think they're still evaluating his senior film, just kind of getting an idea of how he's developed as a passer. He camped at FSU, not this summer, but the summer before, and did like a quarterback camp thing. I think it was actually a elite camp, but he was there with like a bunch of other 5-star quarterbacks and performed pretty well. But yeah, I mean, he's an athlete. He's a guy that's played receiver and defensive back before he transitioned into being a full-time quarterback for his team, Cardinal Newman in West Palm Beach. So yeah, he'll be one to watch. He was originally on the visit list for this past weekend against Miami, but he couldn't figure out travel plans. So potentially down the line, later this fall, could see him on campus. And then two other names of note. Keyshawn Henderson is a guy that we've talked about, briefly over the summer, and have a lot of questions always about him because he's a 5-star quarterback, committed to Houston. Just unusual, right, for a 5-star guy to be committed to Houston. But there's some ties to his high school coaching staff, and the coaching staff at Houston with Willie Fritz there. They've done a good job with him. He's a local guy, trying to keep him home. He said that his recruitment shut down after, briefly having plans to take an OV to FSU over the summer. He, a week later, did not follow through those plans and said his recruitment shut down. I think it could have been a leverage situation with Houston to try and get some more money on the table. That's, just me speculating. I don't actually know that, but that's what it seemed like. And then, yeah, I mean, FSU has tried to make an aggressive push for him. I don't think that he's super open to other schools, but if that does become a thing between now and signing day, I mean, he's a guy that they're willing to go all out for pretty much. He's the perfect fit for the Malzahn scheme and someone that they've evaluated as their top guy. And then lastly, Diabell.
Can I do Buyer Sonnone real quick on Henderson?
Brought to you by the Turner Group.
Thank you. Buyer Sonnone, sponsored by the Turner Group. Would you rather allocate money to Tommy Castellanos coming back for his senior season or Henderson as a true freshman?
Henderson.
That's an or. So how do I buy or Sonnone that?
I mean, I did a Buyer Sonnone earlier and you didn't answer buy or Sonnone. So, I mean,
would I rather allocate to Tommy Castellanos over him, Sonnone?
Yeah, Keyshawn Henderson for sure. I think he's a higher level passer than Tommy, and you'd be able to slot him in year one and just roll with him.
Apparently, he's been like our eval team said. I haven't watched him, but his senior tape is apparently excellent.
Yeah,
like his athleticism has taken another step, so it's pretty cool.
Nice. Yeah, then Diabell, he was on campus for the Miami game. It was funny. Someone on our message board was like, "Hey, we saw Diabell in College Town. Like, this is the night before the game." I'm like, okay, like what is this about? So I asked around, was told that he's mainly there for his younger brother. What's his name, Chris?
Taybell,
who is taking a basketball visit to FSU, a 2027 guy. And yeah, so the next day on game day,
I always like Travis Hunter showing up in Athens, like, because he was at a mall buying. Like, this time of year you're busy. Like, I don't know.
Tay's actually a 2028, but he is a legitimate FSU basketball target. Like, he is
sure.
one they intended bringing. They brought in 5 kids that weekend, mostly 27, 28.
Dia's been hurt, right?
Yeah.
So
he shut it down for the season, I believe.
I'm always like when I hear that kind of stuff, like I don't.
For what it's worth, the credential was a connected one, which means basketball versus football, but he was hanging out with the football guys. Specifically,
they washed it.
Specifically, like the Bennett boys.
There was a moment we were sitting. Chris and I were taking photos of the recruits coming to the Legacy Walk, and we saw someone on a golf cart with the general manager.
I actually didn't see it. I completely missed it. If we're being honest.
And the black guy, gosh darn it, Chris.
Tunnel vision, baby. I was shooting through the camera, and the cart just goes right beside me. Apparently,
yeah. So Diabell's wearing a hoodie and he's covering his face.
He did after Legacy Walk.
I have not heard this story at all.
Yeah,
Legacy Walk. He walked back by with, I think Braylon, might have been Brandon, one of the 2 Bennett boys who he's teammates with.
Has Brandon Bennett played this season?
He just returned this past week, I think, or at least I was told he was going to. But yeah, so then like what Chris is saying, we go over to Legacy Walk, and Diabell's just there walking with his like teammates and stuff. We're like, okay, I don't understand why they did like the whole like hidden recruit thing if he was just gonna be like out in the public like minutes later. But yeah, so he was at the game. I don't think he sat with the football recruits, from my understanding, but So from what I've heard, he's a guy that FSU has kept contact with. They've always kind of communicated with him, but it's kind of been described to me as a situation where like they kind of feel like he's just a super nice kid and is like just giving them the time of day to give them the time of day. But we'll see if anything comes of it. He's committed to Texas, and as we know, Texas is one of, if not the top spender in the sport.
And look how that's going for them. Sorry.
Yeah, true. They might need some help post Arch Manning era there. So we'll see. But yeah. So those are kind of the 3 quarterback targets of note. I don't know if we even want to call them targets because none of those guys, aside from Diabell, have really, taken true visits to FSU anytime recently.
Apparently wasn't a true visit either.
He did camp with FSU in June of 24, which I think precedes the commitment.
Yeah, that was right around the time they took Brady Smeagol.
Oh, that feels like forever ago.
That's why I wanted to say it.
It's the quarterbacks, but
I'd sell maybe a kidney and a lung and probably at least one of my 2 shitty kneecaps for Keyshawn Henderson personally.
What about your GI tract? What's that worth?
A lot of a line, a lot of fiber these days. That's how we get by.
What kind of fiber do you do?
The Metamucil gummies.
Metamucil's good.
God, I'm old. Sucks. Don't get old.
Not getting younger. For Henderson, yeah, I mean, and we talked about this back during that 4 or 5 days. What
a 5 days it was. The
just
best.
The optics. And Zach,
I remember being at FSU and getting a text of him not coming and being like, "Oh, the highs of highs and lows of lows, all in such a short time."
I don't understand why Zach got pushed back then for saying that was such a big recruitment. Like not one.
Well, I think it's because I think like what was fair was like it was such a short amount of time. Like this wasn't like some recruitment that they had built up as like this long-term relationship that they had, kind of formed and it was all, about they were about to get him on campus and then it just fell through. I mean, this was literally a thing where they offered him after the Brady Smeagol thing, didn't get him on campus in the spring, and got him on campus for an OV in the summer. I understood the pushback, but or some of the pushback. But my point was this was like maybe the one recruit in this class who could immediately buy Mike Norvell a lifeline if things didn't go well this season. And we see that happening with one of your in-state rivals in Billy Napier and DJ Lagway.
Look how that's
I use my Texas line again, and look how that's going.
Yeah, but it bought him another year.
I know what you meant.
Essentially one player bought him another year.
Yeah. And he's also tailor-made for Gus Malzahn.
Yeah, and I feel like if there's an offensive system that would play really well, a true freshman quarterback, like this fit would be one you feel like, oh, we'd actually get ROI potentially in year one.
Yeah,
quarterback. It's not having a guy just to kind of have him sit for a few years.
Same way I feel about Kavion Bryant in 27. Like if we're still with this staff and all this going, like Kavion Bryant is a dude that fits it perfectly. Not to mention he's a high-level hooper. But anyways, I digress on that. But that's like how I feel about it. But again, super expensive. And I just don't know that FSU is willing to be that invested at quarterback.
Sell a part of the football-only facility, like naming rights to someone.
They have sold naming rights to 11 parts of that facility already. But hey, you can find a 12.
The Chris Nee bathroom.
The Keyshawn Henderson viewing deck brought to you by the Turner Group.
There we go. No, because I feel like all right. Yeah, I feel like if Colin was investing in don't get any ideas, Colin. It'd probably be a little bit more expensive to bankroll Henderson than it would be to do this venture, as I would guess. So let's not do that.
All right, Zach, what other recruiting stuff do you have?
Yeah, so potential running back target, Quantavious Wiggins.
I like this kid. I would pull up his huddle, but I'm petrified of what happened 2 podcasts ago.
Yeah.
Trying to pull up
he plays alongside Xavier Tiller, FSU commitment, and Carson Baker, fellow running back, who's both at Langston Hughes with him. Go ahead.
Yeah, Carson Baker's committed to UF, former FSU target, but FSU might like his teammate a little bit more. Yeah, he's got 54 carries for 614 yards and 13 touchdowns in 7 games as a senior this fall. Really good production. He's committed to FIU, 5'10", 185 pounds. But FSU and Auburn have been showing him some interest. He visited Auburn for a game. They have not offered yet. Neither has FSU, but he'll be on campus this weekend for the Pitt game. And I think FSU will, if everything checks out in person, I think they're going to offer him and try to, flip him or take him as soon as possible. It feels like, they obviously have a pretty good shot to do so. Brendan, what do you think of his game?
I like it. I was just thinking, I remember liking, I'm trying to think of what I thought about Sam Singleton, because I think the playing style is kind of similar, and I think I like this guy better, just because there's more natural suddenness to his game. I don't know if he has quite the long speed that Sam does.
He looks more than capable speed-wise.
Yeah, it's good. I think we looked it up, and I thought it was like low 11 seconds. So like that's fine. But there's just more explosiveness to his game and more subtleness as a runner.
Yeah.
So I don't know, like high 80s. Like I think we have him as an 85 or 84 right now. He's probably like an 87, 88. I don't know. I didn't watch it with like that in mind, but like yeah, he's a power 4 running back, I think.
I know people will scoff at FIU commitment portion of the show, but it is worth pointing out that Willie Simmons, one-time Lincoln High School pass game coordinator and quarterback coach.
He's the running back coach.
Well, no, he's the head coach at FIU, but a lot of Willie's career was him being a running backs coach. He was the running backs coach for several years at MTSU. He was a running backs coach at Duke, most recently.
It was Duke, not North Carolina. Damn it.
Yeah, he was at Clemson way back when as a grad assistant on offense. Now, Willie played quarterback, right?
I'm just butchering everything. I'm not going to join you on that.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure he played quarterback back in the day. I'm not that old. But yeah, he's got a lot of running back experience. I also think he's a guy that knows what a running back looks like. So
I do find myself conflicted. Like I like the eval. I think I would like to take. Also, it'd be nice if you get a running back commit where you have to win a real big battle without also being the highest spender. Like it'd be nice to be able to do both. And
I think FSU has like real issues with running back recruiting. Like I just don't think there's a lot of effort there, to be honest. Like I feel similarly to how I felt about linebacker recruiting with, previously with how I feel about
results seem different though. Like you are getting better players.
I think some of that's Mike Norvell.
Yeah, and I mean you reset the market for Usman Chroma. Like you're not getting him just based on relationships.
Norvell's always cared immensely about that position, and he's had a historical amount of good production throughout his career in both OC and head coach roles with that position.
Yeah, but like if we're talking strictly out of the high school ranks, I mean they're in year 6, and Usman Chroma is like their first like real contributor out of the high school ranks. Like they'd never had a feature back at running back.
I mean, Toe Philly, but that was the other. He committed.
They didn't.
He committed to the prior staff, but yeah, Toe Philly was playing for this staff.
Yeah, but if you think about every other season, and we were talking about Trey Benson 2 seasons, Jay-Sean Corbin. I mean, now you have Gavin Sawchuk, Roydell Williams. Like they've relied a lot on transfers,
which is crazy because I mean, Mike Norvell and Yak. Although I know, was Yak wide receivers coach for most of the time at Memphis?
I think some of
the Memphis running back like crew. There's a good article over at
Antonio Gibson, Kenny Gainwell, that whole bunch.
Yeah, but like the coaching tree of that staff is awesome, but the running backs were really good too. Yeah, Kenny Gainwell, Antonio Gibson, Tony Pollard, like they were doing some really good stuff. Patrick Taylor, I think, had a cup of coffee in the league as well. So like, it's a little. I don't know. I'm talking about practice versus like. I love Pickney, the defensive end. I'm happy that they've offered him. I hope they get him. I think he's a borderline blue chip player, but also like there's some positions where you're still just like, and I hate doing this now while they're down, but we've been pretty consistent in these talking points. It's just I feel like you're doing a lot more reaching late in the process, or maybe not even reaching, like having to scurry a little bit to find guys late because you missed out on your plan A's and plan B's. Yeah. And I get it happens. It's recruiting. It just seems to happen at a pretty high rate at the program we cover. Maybe we cover it more and closely than we pay attention to other schools. It does seem to happen a lot.
It just feels like they and this is not like a this year thing because I think like
I think they've done a better job this year than they have traditionally with regards to getting some top of the board types.
yeah, I mean there's certain positions where I feel like they've done better than others. They've landed some solid DBs. I like the
Kennan and
receiver
Timmons.
class. Yeah,
Yeah.
I like the receiver
Kevin Carter.
class. But like you look in the trenches, I mean, their O-line class is pretty unimpressive, and then their D-line class. I mean, they don't have an edge rusher committed, and I think their interior guys are a couple of those guys are pretty developmental. Like you don't feel like they're going to go and contribute for you next year.
Almost all those guys are really developmental.
Yeah, I mean Rankins is a guy that if it hits, it could hit really, really well, but there's work to be done there. And then Tico is probably the next best one up. And Tico, I think is a little bit more advanced than most, but I think he's also probably closer to his ceiling than most.
Tico's probably I would have to guess if he signs here would be the most likely to play day one. And we could be surprised by that too. Like I don't think any of us thought the this year's would be as good as they were this early.
Yeah.
But real quick on that, because I got a lot of questions like how were they only 3 stars? Like first off, like 3-star means depending on where, like, but if you're a high 3-star, that is a power 4 football player with some. And if you're like an 87 or above, that means with some NFL tools too. Like so, there's this negative connotation with 3 stars, and all created equal. But 2 is like what football programs of note were going after them until Florida State tried. Like I'm talking about powerhouse. No knock on UCF, but
Ooh, putting UCF down.
Boy, you're turning against 2 programs in one pod. Hell of a day there, Sonnone.
I got the Jags right now. I can hang my hat
They
on.
no longer win a national championship.
No, they did. That's history. It's in the NCAA.
He has a coffee cup. He can tell you that much.
Anyways, it just there's a lot of people. Those 2 guys were benched in high school. Now they're played, but a new staff came in and we're like, we're not. You're moving to the rotation. So what they've done has been awesome, and I give T Knight credit for what he's been able to maximize with them so far. But that's been a really pleasant surprise. And hey, as you look at the future, like between them and Amari Williams, like you might have something there. Kevin Wynn, like you might have something if you can retain those guys and maybe spend a little bit less than you would having to go and add them. Like there's some fun stuff there as we kind of revisit like what this program and team is midway through the season. I'm really excited, guys, next week to kind of do a sit down of catch our breath and write about the program midway through the season, because one game's going to really determine the way we view it. So it'll be fun.
Yeah.
Anything else recruiting that we want to get to? We're at an hour. Is there anything else that you want to kind of push, Zach?
No, I think those are the main things. There's going after some offensive tackles. They're hosting some OBs this weekend. But all that stuff's on Noles247.com. So I would implore you to go and check it out.
Employ us, please.
Yeah, I'm employing you guys.
All right. For Chris Nee, Zach Blostein, I'm Brendan Sonnone. This has been On the Bench. We'll talk to you guys next week. But also Instant Reaction OTB with the X's and O's guys on Saturday.